Hello, everyone. I am here today with John with Rhynes Wholesale. Rhynes Wholesale is a sponsor of the VintageBoothPro.com website, and that is a resource for all of your educational things around starting and producing a very healthy and profitable vintage booth. John is one of our awesome people in our group over on Facebook. We have a Facebook community of I think it's over 21,000 now. It's just growing every day. So he is providing resources to help us source better. They are located in Ringgold, Georgia. And I'm just talking away, John. I can let you introduce yourself.
You're totally fine. Yeah. So, just a little bit about who we are as a company. My name is John. I'm the office manager here at Rhynes. Rhynes has been a consistent wholesaler and source for products for people all over the country since 1964. We're a third generation family owned business. So this is really in our blood. It's who we are. It's in our DNA. And we understand that as a small business owner, you have enough on your plate with the day-to-day operations, with managing products, people, you name it. So our purpose is really to simplify the sourcing process. We don't want to complicate anything. We know that as a booth owner, you're trying to find all the new auctions, estate sales, yard sales. You're trying to run all over town trying to find products. So really, what we are is a one-stop shop to simplify that process, to make it hassle-free. We provide high-quality products with low shipping costs, constant, ever-changing variety of products. And since we've been around for 60 years, we're not going anywhere. So, you can count on us for all of your sourcing needs.
Exactly. And one thing I'm super excited about is seasonal items because it's starting to be that kind of lull in the summer where sales might be a little bit slower. So it's a great time to think about Halloween and Christmas and start sourcing for that. So I'm looking forward to, I source year round for Halloween, Christmas, and Easter and, holidays. But I can't wait to get into the store and see what you guys have in stock.
Yes, and we actually just posted about this in our private community yesterday. But we have a shipment of these new, really beautiful looking enamel and wood products that they're interlocking pieces. We've got Christmas trees, reindeer, Santas, glass Christmas ornaments, you name it. We've got a ton of great stuff coming in July, so I'm so excited to show that to everybody.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'll definitely be sending you some good lists for that stuff.
Cool. Okay. Christmas in July. Perfect. So
Exactly.
if you have looked at any of the pictures from the group, you know that Ryan's does a great job putting like sets together. So today we kind of want to talk about designing your booth to help improve sales and make people pull people into your booth and also into buying something from your booth. So they are awesome at merchandising, which is like, creating vignettes or creating things that pulling pieces together. And John has a whole merchandising document that he is happy to send you. So just let us know in the comments below if you would like that. But we're going to kind of talk through it a little bit. And it's really so 5 layout and design secrets. And the first one is the decompression zone. So that is basically clearing the entryway and letting people enter your space. So what are your tips around that?
Yeah, so really that first 3 to 5 feet of space in your booth is like the welcome mat. It's the way that you set the tone for the shopping experience you want your customer to have. So you don't really want to just cram a bunch of merchandise in there. You don't want to overwhelm anyone with that first impression of the shopping experience you're setting up. Really, the best example that I can think of for a store that has a great decompression zone is Target.
Mm,
And one of the things that they really excel at is this purchase priming area, where when you walk into Target, there's that dollar deal section right off to the
yes.
side.
Hmm.
So really, what they're doing with that is they're minimizing the space between browser and buyer. So they're making it easy for you to make a quick purchase decision, and then you're not just browsing, you are in buying mode.
Right.
So really with your booth, we want to be able to do the same thing. We want to put interesting, really unique, great purchasable things right up front that maybe are great value, maybe they're high margin, but they're things that we want people to make a quick decision to buy because as soon as they buy something in your booth, they're more likely to buy something else. And then you can just build that momentum and continue that journey down the road.
Exactly. And we kind of call that, we kind of refer to those as smalls. And so those are easily sourced that things that are, I say less than $20, but something you kind of buy on impulse.
Mhm.
So that's perfect. And I've heard too that when people enter a store, they always turn right. I don't know how true that is. And it's hard to replicate that in a booth because not everyone has a booth where you can physically turn right. Some people
Mhm.
have shelves or some people have, an end space. So I don't know, any tips on that?
Yeah, so even if you can't create an aisleway or a pathway going to the right, if you use that mentality to put a display right on the right side, most people are right-handed. They've done studies, and what you were talking about is that right turn bias.
Yeah.
It's 90% of people will turn right when they first walk into a store, and so you'll notice in grocery stores typically. So I grew up in with the history working at Publix, and
Mhm.
typical public stores, they create that journey for you to turn right into the bakery or the produce section, which is also something we'll talk about in a minute. But it's that sensory experience.
Yeah.
So they create this environment where you naturally turn the way that they want you to go.
Hmm.
So yeah, even if you don't have this huge space that you can create pathways, if you just create a stand with stuff that helps people make quick purchasing decisions right there on the right hand side, that's a quick and easy way to implement this.
Right. Okay, and that kind of goes in perfectly to your next step, which is having a sensory engagement. Any way that you can draw in all the five senses, which it's a little bit difficult for us because the store chooses which music, the store chooses the lighting, the overhead lighting. We can do our own lighting if we have power in our booths. What else do you suggest for that?
Yeah, so they make, I mean, as far as lighting goes, they make these
Mhm.
great battery powered lights
Mhm.
that we use them in our warehouse to really help it accent specific pieces and displays that we have throughout. You're just drawing attention with lighting. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. You don't have to have this giant spotlight, but if you just give that little bit of extra attention to something,
Right.
somebody's eye is going to be drawn to it.
Yeah.
Um, and beyond just lighting and smells, anything else like that, um, changing textures and pieces
Yes.
that
Right.
invites people to touch it to
Hmm.
engage in that sense.
Right. And that
Um,
is texture is definitely overlooked in our world. But yeah, we've talked about that in the group a little bit, how we can pull in more texture and invite people to, touch and feel. Smell is a funny thing because you don't want it to be overwhelming and you don't want it to smell bad. But just
mm.
if you could somehow figure out a way to have a very light smell that's pleasant. And I haven't figured that out, but it is a good idea. And I do notice the booths that have that.
Well, and if you bring in, it doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but if you made some fresh baked cookies, having a plate of
Yeah.
those in your booth where it's
Mhm.
subtle but it's
Right.
distinct, something that's scratch and sniff,
Yeah.
to where it's not this overwhelming thing that goes into the whole antique mall, but something that's specific to your booth that engages someone.
Right.
I mean, you can definitely get creative with the ways you implement this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the fun part about this whole thing is that we can be creative.
Hmm.
Let's see. And one thing that I love to do is create segments or vignettes. And that's something that you guys do beautifully. I've seen some of the pictures that you guys have created, and you'll take furniture like out in the woods and create awesome pictures. But what are your suggestions around that?
So really, you want to be intentional with the decisions you make with this. I know it's easy to just when you find something that's a great deal, you want to just put it into your booth because you
Yeah.
you feel like someone's going to get drawn to it. but you want to create a theme. You want there to
Mhm.
be a central idea with each kind of segment within your booth. And they don't all have to tie in with each other. But when a customer turns and focuses on something, you want them to have a specific experience.
Right.
So whether it's all kitchen items or they're things that can go into their living room or bedroom, you basically want to minimize the thinking someone has to do about
Exactly. Right.
where seeing it in your booth to where it's going to end up in their home.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime I find brass, which is rare, I don't always find vintage brass pieces, but I put it all together and it sells immediately.
Mhm.
I have like all my cast iron pieces that I got from Rhynes, and those sell multiples. I've noticed that people will want not just pick up one, they'll pick up a couple or two or three.
Mhm.
That is awesome. And it leads into the next one, which is the rule of three. And so that's kind of an old-fashioned tip, right? That a lot of I've heard like interior designers use that. Tell us more about how we can incorporate that into our booths.
Yeah, so really that's just it's like a psychological rule. They have it in comedy. Like you said, they have it in interior design. It's really the way our brain processes things and finds things appealing. So it doesn't all have to be three identical items,
Mhm.
but it can be three things that are staggering in size, three different textures. But really, you don't want to overwhelm with choices and you don't want to have too few choices. So three is kind of that magical number, but you mix sizes and shapes. You want to tell like a little mini story with those three things, and you can stagger them with risers. But really, it's just a way to create a short little story, create a memory, create a theme that then that customer can again minimize that the thinking power they have to commit to whatever they're seeing and really help increase the likelihood of that sale.
Right, exactly. I love that. And probably they won't just buy one thing, they'll buy multiple because it's grouped together and it makes sense and they can bring it into their home just like that.
Just suggestive selling.
And so this next step I never heard until I started my booth,
Mhm.
and it is that eye level is buy level. And that is probably one of the best suggestions that I've ever, dealt with. Because if you think about how big some antique stores are and how short our attention spans are, I think it's, less than 5 seconds now. So we just
Mhm.
have just a few seconds, maybe in 1 second to grab someone's attention. And people aren't looking up and down, they're looking, right here. And
Mhm.
so it makes sense to put as many things as you can at eye level. So tell us more about that. How can we incorporate more things at eye level?
Yeah, so it's kind of like what you were saying. You don't want to scatter merchandise high
Mhm.
and low. When someone walks in, you want the first thing they see to be something that appeals to them that can then draw them into your display. And then they'll discover the rest of the merchandise
Right.
you have out.
Mhm.
But anything really like below the waist, it's just there for filler. For me, I think about the Apple Store, and I
Mhm.
think they've really nailed this. Where you walk in, everything is on a table to where it's waist up or higher. There's nothing below their waist. All the tables just raise all the products up.
Exactly.
Everything's on the walls.
Right.
So they make it as easy for you to just go in, browse the products. Again, talking about the sensory experience,
Mhm.
it invites you to touch the products there.
Yeah.
And even if we're not being as minimal in our booths as Apple is with their stores, you can still apply that same concept to where anything that's below your waist, you can use it just to as a space filler. You don't have to have anything that you want someone's attention to be drawn to,
Right.
but you want the thing that prime retail space is what's at eye level.
Yeah.
That's the high margin stuff. That's the stuff that you really want to push that draws people into whatever displays you have.
Right. Exactly. And we talk a lot in the group about if you have shelves, what do you do with the bottom shelves?
Mhm.
And most of the time, mine are empty. Like there's no point, or it's like a storage.
Mhm.
Something else you could do is have clearance items there, things that have been in your booth for a while that just aren't moving. I can mark them down. But yeah, that bottom space is just kind of for storage.
Well, and I know that it's easy to want to fill the space when you have a
Yeah.
limited area to
Right.
put merchandise merchandise in, but really negative space or the absence of material helps create contrast that then draws your attention to something else. So it's easy to want to fill that space in, but I think if you want to make the most of focus for a customer when they come in and
Mhm.
shop, don't be afraid to leave some empty space
Yeah,
places because then it
exactly.
again minimizes the thinking power. It draws their attention where you want it to be, and they don't even have to think because they know things aren't there.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, I think that's probably just one of the best tips we can have, and keep it rotating. I mean, don't
Mhm.
always have the same thing, and know your buyer persona, know your theme, and have that theme so it catches their eye. Like if you have an MCM sunburst, something like that. If that's your theme, have it there at the front on the, as they can scan and see it, so they'll be pulled into your booth a little bit more. So those are
Mhm.
great tips, and I know you'd be willing to send out the document with more details on that. Any other tips that you can give us?
Yeah, so I have one more bonus tip.
Okay.
Not just the five we've already talked about, but the
Mhm.
thing to kind of tie all these together is this idea of the color balance, the 60-30-10 rule.
Oh, okay.
So I learned or taught myself graphic design for a few years.
Okay.
I know this is a big rule in interior design as well, but it's a way to create visual balance and harmony with the colors within your booth. So when you think about that 60-30-10, the 60% you want to be a neutral, kind of light tan, maybe a green, white, some kind of neutral color that creates a
Okay.
good foundation. That 30% is the secondary color. It's not as much of a pop, but it creates a little bit of contrast. You can use things like pillows, accent
Mhm.
pieces, any kind of like textiles. But you want the next 30% to be the same kind of color family. And then that 10 is the accent color. So we get pictures sent of our customers displays all the time, and
Mhm.
we do the same thing here. But you have the neutral background, you have the general secondary color. A lot of times it's wood, it's green, and then that accent color is just that pop that draws people in. But it's also consistent. So if you
Okay.
can think of limiting it to 3 to 4 colors at the most within a
Mhm.
specific display, you're not creating this chaotic look. You're creating a theme. You're making it easy on the eyes to focus on pieces,
Mhm.
and then it again you can create a specific story, an environment that you want your customer to really just live in for the moment while they're there.
Awesome. Yeah, it just came to mind that someone had posted in the group about how they love just with the white and wood. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of an example, and add some accent colors into that. And that's exactly it. I will say one tip that I have is I take a million pictures whenever I'm in my booth, take a video, and then sometimes I don't see it until I'm looking at the pictures. So
Mhm.
sometimes you have to kind of take a step back, maybe take a picture, or just kind of do an overview somehow of your booth, and you'll see those colors better. I
Mhm.
always find mistakes or holes in the wall that I missed when I'm putting more stuff in my booth. But yeah, just kind of take a step back and look at those colors. I think that's a great idea. I'm definitely gonna use that one for sure.
Yeah, and for a lot of booth owners, I know that this is a hobby. This isn't
Mhm.
what they went to school for. This isn't
Right.
their whole work
Exactly. Yeah.
experience. So for a lot of us, it's a matter of like learning these things. It's about testing, trial, um,
Hmm.
over time, improving. So this isn't something that's going to, overnight be where you want it to be, but it's about picking one thing that you can improve and just incrementally getting better, seeing what your customers like, how they respond to it. So maybe in your head, something is going to work, but your customers just aren't receptive to it. So you
Exactly.
really
Right.
just take the time, focus and be receptive to what they want.
Right. Perfect. Yeah. And have a plan too. I see that when I'm in my booth, other vendors are there and I'll just talk to them the whole time and I forget about what I want to do. So come up with a plan before you go into your booth and how you want to lay things out too. I'm
Mhm.
terrible at that. But I love visiting with everybody and customers that come through. But yeah, I think those are awesome tips and I'll definitely be using some of those for sure.
Great. Yeah. And if you guys have any questions or are wanting to maybe bounce some ideas off of
Mhm.
things that you can do for your booth, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to be a great resource for you. So you can find Rhynes online. Just type in Rhynes.com. You'll find us there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, just Rhynes Wholesale.
Yep, and I'll put all those links in the description and the comments below to make it easy to find. So thanks so much, John, for your time and for giving us this wisdom. And I've definitely learned something, and hopefully I'll be improving my sales a little bit by adding these tips.
Well, thank you for your time today, Crystal, and I look forward to connecting more with your community.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks,
All
John.
right.